Let's Talk Nourishment, where we go beyond food and into the habits that truly nourish. I'm Abigail Parker, nutritional therapy practitioner, here to help you simplify wellness. So today we are talking about something that can be a very common struggle. That is healthy eating as a family. Because whenever you decide that you want to eat better, that is you making the choice. But often it's not just you in your house. You have either a significant other or kids, and they maybe didn't sign up for trying to eat better. And so it can be a little difficult sometimes getting them on board. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to feel like meals are a battle when you're trying to eat healthier. And it can be something that is a part of your life as a family. And I'm very excited to have Jenny Lang with me today to talk about this awesome topic. It's going to be such a great conversation. So Jenny is a board certified health coach and mindset coach with Libra Health Coaching. She helps busy professionals find a sustainable path to total well-being in a hectic lifestyle, which I know so many can understand. She customizes her approach with each client, their lifestyle, their unique needs, all while having a true understanding of their complexities, as she has a 20 plus year career history in corporate America. She has lived that life and she's overcome the stress and overwhelm of it. And so she wants to help others find their path too. And Jenny, I know that you got into nutrition because you had a wake-up call of you needed to get healthier and you really wanted to work on your son's health too. So I would love for you to start off telling us more about that, more about you.
Well, thank you, first of all, to have me on the show. So my background is unique because this is my second career, and the way it started was not expected. I actually didn't expect. I thought I was gonna be a corporate lifer, so I was not expecting this, but the universe had different plans for me. So the way it started was a combination of both my health getting to a place that was I had a turning point, and I'll explain that. But also, my second son was born with an unknown birth defect that we battled for almost 2 years. Right before his second birthday, we got the final diagnosis and plan to get him healthy again. But during that time, my health was hitting its all-time worst place that I had been in. So basically, the short of it really is the fact that when my second son was born, I was also caregiving my elderly parents, as I'm the youngest of seven. So I was in that sandwich generation. And so with him, though, he was so little. So at the time, the symptoms started showing up literally within 6 weeks of him being born. And it continued until almost 2 years old. So his health was not in a good place, and he was constantly in an urgent care, an ER, or some type of hospital roughly every 6 weeks with some upper respiratory infection, pneumonia, bronchitis, everything. So during that time, though, my health was starting to get worse and worse between the having to work all the time, taking care of my parents, and the stress of having a sick child, as well as his older brother who was only 3 years old when he was born. So I was in this situation where my health was getting worse and worse because I was always putting myself last on the list, right? That's pretty common, especially for parents. They're always putting themselves last. And I was doing that. And so at one point now, recently, I went through like all of the health issues I had, and I was at that point at 12 different health issues. Some that were more common, like, acid reflux and skin issues and digestive issues, migraine headaches, some of the more common, but some of the others that I had that were more severe, like I had anxiety for decades, and it had gotten to a point where it actually manifested into a heart condition called premature atrial contraction. And then the worst of it was my turning point. So when we got my son's diagnosis, finally, just before his second birthday, we were going to go do a second opinion because it's pretty rare. So what it was is a laryngeal tracheal cleft. So just think of like the wall that separates your lungs from your stomach. So when you're drinking, it closes up so you don't put liquid into your lungs. Well, his didn't. He had a cleft. There was an opening there. So this poor little dude was drinking and then actually aspirating every time. So he was drowning himself. And we could not figure out what was going on for so long. But then when we finally got that diagnosis, because it's so rare and he was so young, we went and did a second opinion down at Rochester, Minnesota Mayo Clinic. And on our way there, I got a wake up call. So leading up to this point, I had some really bad back issues, and I was seeing a chiropractor for them, and it was so painful to even just pick up my kids. Like I had to figure out how to even like heave ho myself up to pick them up from the floor. And so I was seeing this chiropractor and couldn't figure out what was going on. And he actually got to a point like, you're not getting any better. Let's take a look and get a scan of your back and see what's going on. When he did that, he called me with the results as we were in the car heading down to Rochester. And he says, your lower lumbar spine has about three discs in there that are so deteriorated that they look like you're older than you are, much older than you are. But on top of it, we're seeing a mass inside your back. It's on the front side of your spine. And that scared the heck out of me. So that was my wake up call. I was like, okay, I'm in my mid to late 30s at the time. And I was like, what is going on? So when my son went to the Mayo Clinic and they figured out, okay, the way they do it is they have all the doctors in the room do the exploratory surgery and said, you know what, he's actually young enough that he shouldn't have the surgery. And it's only stage 1 that he can actually learn how to swallow differently. But you will have to do work to get him there. But it's too risky. The risk and reward for surgery was not there. So we both went, this little kid, just before his second birthday, and I went on this journey of health. So it was quite the change for me. So I had to just start doing one small thing at a time, and I was doing the same thing with him, like just getting him back to health. And so that led me to making all these small changes and trying to heal my body at the same time, especially my back. So I was going to a hot yoga studio at the time, and I saw this flyer for this health coach, and we were talking 2013. So it's been a while. That was at the beginning when health coaching just started, and even before the national board certification came out. So I picked up her flyer. I called her and I said, okay, I already started my journey, but I would love someone to just help me focus in on where I should go with this. And so I hired her for 3 months, and she got me hyper focused and kept me on track. And then I got curious because I started falling in love with the whole getting healthy and feeling better, that I started asking her questions like, where did you go to school? And that was her second career too. So I learned about where she went to school, and because of who I am, a little high achieving, I decided I'm going to go back to school too. I can just learn. I went into it thinking I'm just going to learn all of this information for myself initially and for my family. I wasn't thinking I was going to make a career change or anything, but I did. So I went into it thinking that, but ended up coming out with a URL for a website and, actually, signing up for the state and having an actual business after that. And in that time after that, I actually continued to work my corporate job. So it was coaching became a side hustle. But now I decided in 2021 to make it a full-time hustle, helping clients who are on that journey of, I don't like how I feel. I want to start making changes. I'm feeling like I'm constantly stressed and I just can't seem to focus. I want to be able to help those who I was 10, 12 years ago.
Yes. And I know, Jenny, that something that we have in common is the fact that whenever you are getting into nutrition, you have a why. There was something in your own life that made you decide. And then when you notice, like, oh my goodness, I feel so much better. I want to help other people feel better too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I always think about that even now. As I look back and you're going, I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. So if I can do anything with my life, the rest of my life is to help people not have to do that. Or if they are in it, get them out of that as well.
Yes, especially you talking about it wasn't just you struggling, it was your child. And that's scary as a parent. I'm sure whenever you are dealing with your kid that you don't know what to do, what's going on, trying to navigate that while you're also talking about you were having back issues, you had even a hard time picking him up. That's very stressful. And so the fact that you made this complete turnaround is so amazing and something to be proud of. And I know now, whenever we had a conversation the other day, we had your son come in and actually bring you some food while you were working. And that's kind of what got us started talking about having kids eating healthy too, is because your son, I believe it was pancakes he had made, and you were talking about how he's involved. And that's something that is really unique. How many parents are like, my son just went ahead and brought me some food to make sure that mom eats.
Yeah, isn't that fun? That's right. It was he made waffles for the first time on his own. And just to give everyone the idea, he is now 14. He is almost 6'1". He is very tall, just like his dad. Very healthy. So like to think back to how sick he was when he was little to now seeing how much he's thriving. He's a very strong athlete too, doing super well. So yeah, that day when when we were on our call, he came in with this beautiful plate, gluten-free, beautiful waffle. He's never made waffles by himself before, but it's summertime and he's just exploring, and I let him do it. I'm like, go for it. I gave him a recipe, so go ahead and have fun. And he brought it in with me, had loaded with fruit and things like that on there. It was super fun. But to get him to that point, it's been his whole life is just getting him to get curious about food and how he feels and connecting it to his body and how it feels every time he eats certain things.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we don't necessarily realize until you get into the health space, is how much the food is impacting how you're feeling. And so, what are things that you see kids might be struggling with that can be just tweaking their food a little bit in order to help them?
And the one thing I'd caveat before even getting the kids to do it is getting the parents to be the leaders of it. So, parents, if you're listening to this, you are the ultimate example for your children. And it doesn't go just nutrition, it's everything, how you react to
Mhm.
situations, how you take care of yourself, and so on. But as soon as you get curious enough to actually start making changes, your child will follow you. And so, the one thing that a lot of parents that I've noticed, and I did it myself initially, and I was like, why am I struggling so much with getting my kids to make changes? Was that I was pushing it on them versus getting them to just like to let go a little bit and let them get curious about it and make it more enjoyable, both for you and them.
Mhm.
So it really came down to the fact that I realized I had to be the example. And for me, in my situation, I had to because my life was at a turning point. Like, I was already starting to make those changes. I had to get my husband to do things too, and then realize, like, the funny thing is, if you have a spouse, they watch you too. So when you start feeling better and making changes, they're like, okay, what is she doing that I'm not doing? And she has way more energy, and then they get curious and like, I want to do that too. It's just human behavior. But with the kids, it's really about you being the example, but also take the stress off of yourself. Stop pushing it on them and just let it.
Mhm.
There's a part of like letting go with it that you can do, because then they are less resistant and you get their curiosity and their fun and enjoyment to kick in. That's what kids do. They're young. That's like the first thing on the list, a to-do list for kids, is have fun. So if you can foster the making the changes, utilizing that, it's unreal to watch what happens with kids. And they have, if you've ever had a toddler, have known a toddler, hung out with a toddler especially, they're very independent. It's like the
Mhm.
phase one of teenage years. They
Yeah.
want to just start figuring out how to do things on their own, and they want to have a say. Well, you can capitalize on that too, believe it or not, instead of having that resistance. And that's really where I would say those two things. It's the parents are the leaders, they're the example, and then don't push so hard on yourself and on them. And it's amazing how much it changes. Will it have some effort in there? I think yes, you'll have effort either way, but it's actually effort that's more enjoyable. And it actually has more profound effect on the child and spouses too, honestly.
Yes. And whenever you are talking about the parents as leaders, there's a difference between modeling and lecturing, which you got into there. You want your kids to eat better, but your kids are going to essentially be doing whatever you're doing or even whatever you're buying. I see parents that are often, complaining about the food that their kids are eating, but I'm like, but you're buying that food, which,
Mm-hmm.
I understand your kids are going to go outside of the house and they're going to be eating other foods. That's perfectly understandable, but modeling what you want your kids to eat by what you're eating in the home can be really impactful. And understanding then, why we're choosing to eat these foods instead of, like you said, pushing, well, you can't eat that, you shouldn't be eating that, can really be a difference too. When kids understand that this is just how we eat and it's not that, you shouldn't be eating this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's if you if parents are thinking about making their own health changes, they can actually capitalize on being parents and having kids to help them. I know that sounds so reverse. The kids can actually help you make health changes. And I've said that to people and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "No, really. Kids have this innate ability to be super curious. They want to have fun. And who wants to make a health change when there's no fun involved?" Like that's a big factor when I coach is to instill that kid inside all of us to actually be able to go and find the fun and enjoyment. I'm sure anyone listening to this they've done a diet or a lifestyle change, and one they probably bit off more than they can chew, no pun intended, but they did, and then they found it was too much and they lost they also went into it thinking deprivation, starvation, restriction. And you don't want to go into it like that. You want to go into it going, what am I curious about? What new foods do I want to try? How can I have fun with this, and how can I make it not so much pressure on myself as I'm
Yes.
making these changes? That same mentality applies to your kids. But what's cool is the kids haven't lived as long of a life to have all the experiences you've had that actually cause you to default in the negative way. They have more of a positive aspect to them. So they actually can help you stay focused on having the fun and enjoyment in the process. So kids can be as much of a teacher to you as you will be for them. It's really a kind of a cool process.
Yes. And even when I first got into trying to eat better, I tried to go all in on that. And it leads to a lot of overwhelm and guilt if you're outside of whatever you feel all in on healthy eating is. And so my approach is just picking one thing to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And that often I tell people is try a new food. Either try a new food that you've never had before, have some fun with it, or even a food that you're like, I like that, but I never eat it. I don't know why. Eat that food and enjoy it more. It doesn't have to be this overwhelming all in, I need to eat completely healthy foods, whatever that means to you. But that idea of curiosity, where you're just bringing in one thing. And as a family, then you can be like, hey, I thought it would be fun to try this. And you all get to experience that together.
Yep. Yeah, and food brings people together. It's like one of the best things. It brings people together. Actually, to go off of that, so I'll give you. Are you good with me giving some examples of how parents can actually capitalize on this and what to do?
Absolutely.
So you were talking about just doing one thing. So most parents actually want to take their kids out to like the park or movies or somewhere to do something fun. But instead of doing that, what if you made an exploration time at home and in a grocery store to actually go and start with the kids first. This is where the kids' curiosity and fun comes into play. So say you actually let the kids dictate what that food is that you're going to try. So you could start out at the grocery store and say, okay, which one of these produce, you're in the produce section and you're like, okay, what looks interesting to you? And just let them explore, let them walk around. It gets them very curious and it makes it fun. So don't go with this expectation of a big grocery list and got to get all this stuff. Just go in there like a fun, like almost like you're exploring. And so you go in there and let them pick something. Okay, let's look into this. Now it's time to let's go back home and find the recipes, or you can do it in different order, like just let them explore, find it, and then come back and look at recipes. Or while you're there, you can say, okay, let's find a few recipes. And what I use Pinterest a lot. And Pinterest has you, it's literally a search engine. So you throw in whatever it is and say, give me recipes. I always look at the most simple recipes, especially when working with kids. The least amount of ingredients allows them to cook with you as well. And it doesn't take a long time either. So it's a win-win for both parents and kids. So if you find, hey, how about this one? And the kid's like, yeah, let's do that one. And let them decide, okay, this is what else we need to make this. And then when you go home, then you can go home and actually get them in the kitchen. And they're so excited to one, try something new, to do it with you, because I'm telling you, your kids just want time with you. They don't care where you take them. If it's at home, that's all they really care about, is just being with you. And then you get them involved, and then you do it. It's almost like you're going to school and exploring like a new art project, but it's in your kitchen. And so you get them curious right off the bat. You've given them the ability to make a decision with you, which gives them, it allows them to open up that part of them that's usually the defiant part, because you're trying to tell them what to do versus asking them what to do, getting them to be able to open up. And there's this mutual respect that comes out of the parent and the kid in these situations, because the kid's like, wow, my mom actually wants my opinion, or mom wants me to like think about like what I want to eat and try. But what's interesting is as soon as you get the kid in the kitchen helping you make it, they are so proud when they get to make it and share it with everyone, and everyone likes it, or and guess what, the kid wants to eat it. The little kid, no matter how young they are, they want to eat it because they had a part in it, the creation, the cooking, the presenting, all of it. And so it's funny, you just, all you're doing is spinning the way we're used to, like pushing them to get to do something, and just allowing them to actually utilize their innate abilities of creativity and inspiration and curiosity in the process. It's really fun to watch. And what is cool is it brings the family together when it's like that. Then dad gets, hey, dad, I made this potato dish. You want to try it? And he's like, wow, this is really good. And it's like, and then the kid's even more proud. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. The kid gets more and more curious and wants to keep trying it, more and more foods. And that's exactly how you want to start it. And it's fun to watch. Like now my kids are 14 and 17, and I see them and they're cooking in the kitchen for themselves. And they're not making frozen pizzas and chicken nuggets, which I don't have anyways, but they're making things that aren't overly complicated, but they're a lot more nutrient dense. And they're not going for the bags of chips and the cookies and the candies and things. And it's fun to watch my 17-year-old, who will be an adult next year, and he's starting to really realize as he's aging, how it's affecting him physically. How he feels, has more energy than some of his friends do, and things like that. So it's fun to watch the evolution of how that simple family activity over and over again evolves. And it's, like I said, it goes both ways. So the parents end up reaping the rewards themselves, because now they're seeing how fun it is for the family. They're getting to try some foods they probably wouldn't cook. And then they're getting their kids involved, which actually saves time and effort inside the kitchen, especially as they get older. It's really fun.
Yes. I love engaging your family, engaging the kids, especially. I have a real life example of that. I had a client who had 3 kids under the age of 5, and she was trying to get her family to eat better. And it felt like a battle. Mealtime was her least favorite time of the day because it was stressful trying to get food prepared. And it was stressful that her family didn't ever want what she was making. And so I had a conversation with her about including her kids in the process of what she's cooking, how they're plating their food. And she was like, oh, but that just stresses me out thinking it's going to be messy. And I'm like, sometimes messy is okay because they're going to be involved. They're going to be having fun. You're going to get more out of it. And so she ended up deciding to do it. And so she texted me and she's like, this week has been really great. We've cooked 3 meals as a family. And my son that eats nothing actually ate a salad at dinner the other day because he got to assemble it. I'm crying because it truly is something I've been praying for. No one has been complaining. Even my husband has been in on the help. So going from this idea of, well, I just need to do it because that's going to be the easiest thing, to it's okay to ask for help and involve other people. And when you involve other people, the benefits that come from it, like you talked about, even with that bonding as a family, you're connecting, and that pride whenever you're putting food together, that's something that you just made, you can be like, look at this.
Yep. And it's that day when you and I were on the phone together, and my son came in with his very first self made waffle, which, yes, it was a waffle, but it was a lot healthier than a standard waffle. And he decorated it. Was, I should have taken a picture and emailed it to you. It was beautiful
Yeah.
with all the fruit on there and everything. And he still, at 14, still has this pride of creating in the kitchen from all those years of him being able to do that when we were younger. And then it gets really fun because you can do the more advanced healthy stuff, like making smoothies with vegetables in them, like things that they're like, okay, mom, we're going to put a cucumber or zucchini in the smoothie. And they're like, what? And then I'm like, just try it. Let's put some fruit in there and see if you actually taste the cucumber and zucchini. And now these boys will make them on their own. And it can be such a fun, rewarding experience that lasts literally an entire lifetime.
Mhm. Yes, because you're talking about how you got started when your son was so young with paying more attention to being in the kitchen and the food that you're eating, and you brought him along for that. And even with my client, her kids are 5 and under, and already now they're going to be involved in the kitchen, how much that's going to progress. And it's not to say that if you don't start your kids in the kitchen when they're young, that they're never going to take to the kitchen. It's not going to work. You just have to get started. That's all it ever takes whenever you are trying to eat better, make a change, is just deciding to start and deciding that one action on how to get started, which you talked about, that really great idea of the curiosity of, let's take the kids to the grocery store and let them pick out a food that they're like, what is this? What do we do with this?
Yeah.
Do you have some other favorite simple ways to help people get their kids involved in the kitchen?
Well, I was going to make the point too, and this does involve, so you made a good point. So we're talking when we started like with your client or me, is when the kids are really young. You can do the same thing when they're older too. And the one thing I want parents to lean on is the fact that as human beings, we have this innate ability to care for each other, period, right? Especially when it's a family member. So you can lean in on the fact that you want to make the changes, right? And you want the support from your family, including your kids, no matter what age they are, and say, okay, this is where humility has to come into play. And I did do this multiple times. I had these open conversations with my boys, like, mom needs to be healthy. I need to take care of myself so I can do all of these things with you as you age. I want to be around and be healthy. And so when I approach those conversations like that, and parents can do this if you're willing to have the conversation like, I need your help too. It's not just about me doing things for you, but hey, kids, you're going to help mom and dad get healthier too. And it's amazing to watch that flip of switch kind of go, oh, I can help take care of you too. You know what I mean? They can be the good example, but it has to come from a little bit of a place of humility from the parent. You know what I mean? It's not just about you getting them healthy, it's about them helping you to get healthy too. And so it's the willingness to be able to have a conversation like that with your kids, or at least just calling it out. You don't even have to go into a deep conversation. Just say, I want to be healthy for you too. So do you want to help me? And the kids are like, really? I'm happy to. And they're more excited to go then shop with you and cook for you and do things like that. There was many times where my kids literally, mom and dad took a break from cooking, and my two boys literally made meals for us 100%. We didn't touch the kitchen at all. And it's fun because they want to take care of you too. So I just wanted to call that out because that's something a lot of parents, they're always seen as the authority. They think of themselves as just the authority, right? But sometimes you have to take that hat off and actually realize that you have to have a little bit of humbleness or humility and tell your kids, like, I'm human too. And we depend on each other. That's what the beauty of a whole family unit is caring for each other. So the kids can help you by taking the action that to help you as they're taking the action and learning for themselves. It's funny how it's reciprocal like that.
I think it's so special because, going from being a kid to all of a sudden an adult, you finally have that realization of your parents are just people. They're not superheroes, though it seems like as kids that they have everything together, they have all the answers. And so I think when you're in the thick of it as a parent, you're trying to uphold that sense of, I have to have everything together for the family, that idea of everything needs to be perfect, but you can actually have that special connection with your kids to have them understand, like, hey, I'm a person too, and I need help sometimes. Can you help me? And how special is that as a kid to have your parent looking to you for help too, to
Yes.
be like, we're in this together.
Yes. And it is just like that last word you just said. It's together. Like it's if you're having struggles with the family dynamic, feeling like you're together, I can tell you conversations like that will make you all stick together very quickly. It's like leaning on each other, in a way that just you feel like a team. You know what I mean? That's the only way when people ask me about my family, I'm like, we're close that because we can lean on each other no matter what age we are and what our roles are. There's this mutual respect between all of us.
Yes. And that communication, whenever you are able to be a family like that, just talking with each other can really
Mm-hmm.
make the difference. And you mentioned previously about the fact that food brings people together. And so you're having to eat throughout the day. Why not use this time as an opportunity to communicate, to connect as a family, and build that strength?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I recently, my boys were kind of gave me the eye roll, but I recently found a sign that says no devices at the dining room table, and I hung it up by the by the dining room table. And that's another thing is really being present. That's the cool thing with the process of allowing them to find the food and cook with you. You're present. A lot of that's been lost over the years, especially with those devices. Just being present, I can tell you, is one of the greatest gifts you can give your children. Is just being present, and honestly, it will reward you later on when you can actually remember those stories and those situations you were with your kids, because you'll remember them because you were present enough to remember them. Does that make sense?
Yes. There's so much good here. And the fact that whenever you're involving your kids, you're leading by example. It's helping you to live a better, more fulfilled life. It's helping your kids as well.
Yeah.
But then also the overall family dynamic is improved whenever you're involving them as well. So it's not just you're trying to eat better and it's all about you.
Yep.
There's so much good that can come for the entire family whenever you're all in it together. I
Yep.
love that. It's been such a great conversation. So, Jenny, for anybody who wants to follow you or get more support from you, where can they find you at?
The easiest way would just be through my website. So librahealthcoach.com. I'm on most platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I had joined this year, so you can see videos on there. On my website, there are freebies of things that if they resonate with people, there's 3 of them on there. You can join my mailing list by doing that. And then I also have online courses that are, when you're on the website under services, you'll see online courses. I started that this year, and actually, I have one coming out that goes through this in a much deeper detail around how to involve your kids into cooking and getting healthier at home. So that course is actually, by the time this gets out, it'll probably be up on my website as well.
Wonderful. That's such a perfect tie-in that you have that available. I love that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close out?
I just want to tell people the time, it's like any type of investment. The time you put in right now. And I always want to tell parents, don't strive for perfection, just progress. It's all about progress. So some days are going to be tough, but you're still moving in the right direction. And it might feel like it's a struggle some days. And it's going to be that way. Don't quit. It's just about progress, even if the step feels really small. And you're never going to regret the moments you had doing things like this, because they will become memories and you will get to watch your children thrive as adults.
My favorite phrase that I think I use the most is keep moving forward. It doesn't matter what today looked like. Tomorrow's another day. Just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Yes, that's perfect.
Wonderful. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for talking with me. I hope that if you're listening, you enjoyed this conversation and you got a lot out of it. And be sure to check out that course that Jenny has on cooking with your kids, getting the family involved if you're interested in that.